here for 16 years. So the first time I heard you told me you have been in here for 16 years, I said, either you're married to a Korean or you're making a lot of money here. That's
those both are other reasons.
what has kept you here for 16 years?
I'm from a very small town in New Zealand called Palmerston North, and I've never lived in the city. I actually live outside of the city.
Yeah.
So the population of my hometown is 80,000 people.
Wow.
And I live an hour out, I did. When I was younger, my high school went to Vietnam. So it was my first experience of seeing Asia, and it was mind-blowing. This is back in 2002, I think I went to Vietnam. Singapore, Vietnam, and then when I was at university, I managed to go to Europe, have a look around. I traveled around Europe, and when I went back to my hometown, when you travel and you go back to your own house and you sit down on the couch, you're like, oh, you're almost getting a bit of a slump. You want to go travel again.
Yeah.
So I decided, while I'm young, I want to get out and go have a look around. The Korea was meant to be just for 1 year. I was just going to come here. I found a rugby team, so I was going to play rugby. Rugby is not a major sport here, but I found a rugby team. And then I was going to go back and possibly go to Australia and do like a lot of people do, go over there for better economic circumstances.
Yes.
But when I got here, Korea exceeded all my expectations. Culturally, the Korean people are amazing. The food's good, it's safe, it's comfortable. You can travel all through Asia. From Korea is a good hub.
Yes.
And I just started building and trying to develop what I was trying to do, like building. I came as an English teacher originally, but that was not my passion, not my dream. I wanted to build a company and build brands and represent New Zealand in Korea.
Yes.
So that's what I started doing.
Yes.
Making the money thing, of course, everybody would like to make money.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of hiccups along the way. I'm not poor, I'm not rich, but I'm working hard. And I think if you work hard enough, we have an expression in New Zealand, do the mahi, get the treats.
Do the mahi.
Get the treats.
Get the treats.
And I play rugby for the Soul Survivors, which is the Soul-based rugby team, and we often use this slogan as well. And our team is made of many nationalities: French, South Africans, Australians, Canadians, Americans, Koreans, Japanese. And they all know the meaning of this. It's from New Zealand. Mahi is the Māori word for work. And treats represents what you get from work, right?
Yeah.
So do the mahi, do the work, get the treats, get the reward. So that's my mindset as well. So if you work hard enough, obviously you want to work a little smart. You just don't want to, grind yourself to the ground.
Of course, that's right.
You work hard enough, eventually good things will come. So this is why I work my butt off to try and get the treats, and then
So how did you then switch from an English teacher to?
That's funny. So I started out like most people at Hagwon, which is the private academy, and I was about an hour out of Seoul. I kind of got tricked. I landed at the airport. They told me I lived in Seoul, and then we drove out of Seoul when I was out in the countryside. Taught kindergarten, and then I realised my pay packet and my compensation wasn't that great. So after 6 months, I managed to transfer to a public school. Worked there, was enjoying myself, did a bit of travel through Asia. And like I said, I started seeing that there were gaps in the market. And I had this idea that wine was going to be the product. So I started speaking to some Korean people. I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I needed a partner.
Yes.
I spoke to a few people, and in the end, I spoke to a woman, and she ended up being my girlfriend at the time.
Wow.
And her and I set up the company.
Wow.
Yeah, our company, not this company.
Yes.
And we started importing wine. We started with 1 pallet of wine.
Wow.
One tiny little pallet. I flew back to New Zealand, had meetings, and we shipped in 1 pallet of wine. That was 2008 or 9, I think. And we made a lot of mistakes, and we lost a lot of money, and we had no idea what we were doing. But quite often, that's what you need to do. You need to fail.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we were quite poor, so we failed on a small scale.
On a small scale, yeah.
Lots of failures were not that expensive,
Yeah.
but we had a terrible tiny little office in Itaewon, no heating, so we had one of those old kerosene heaters that you had to call the guy to come fill up, and it only put out heat for about a metre, so we sat around that in the winter.
Wow.
I got a job at a university, so I was working at the university while she was setting up the company.
Wow.
And I was using my university money to help fund it because she was working full-time in the company, and we just grew and grew from that.
Yeah.
And we started out in wine and then expanded and learned from our mistakes. And every time we did a shipment, okay, we made this mistake. We made a labeling error error, we made a shipping error, we used the wrong company, we can't ship this volume, this wine doesn't sell as well as this one. So we learned along the way.
Along the way,
you can't read that in a book. You can't watch a YouTube video.
Yeah,
I wish someone had written a book about it and made a YouTube video, but you had to learn the hard way. And when I first said I was going to import wine, I went back into a family wedding, and my uncle, who's in finance, said, it's not a good idea, you're not good. And he was right. Sometimes the things that are the most successful tend to be terrible ideas.
Yes. Yeah.
Terrible ideas that someone just tries.
Yes, it is. That's right.
But if you were smarter and you're older and you're wiser, you wouldn't have done it. So people always ask me, would you do that now? I was like, no, it was a terrible idea at the time. I had no idea about the wine industry in Korea. I had no idea how big the competitors were. I had no idea about anything. It's an expression, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. We were just throwing ideas at the wall, and if they fell off, okay, we'll try a different idea. And like I said, because of the size that we were, the things that didn't stick weren't too expensive.
Yes. Someone that know that, okay, you own a bar now, you produce your own brand, you own your own brand and every other thing, will see that as if it was an easy journey. And it's something that they can just do and expect results immediately. So what advice would you have for a young entrepreneur that also wants to be like you, especially in a foreign country?
I think the idea of quick success is an illusion that we see on Instagram or Facebook.
That's right.
The crypto world or the social media trends where
that's right.
Some dude's poor the next day, he's driving a Lamborghini. I said that's very rare. A lot of it is grinding hard. I'm not a young man anymore.
Yeah.
And so often when I go home from the bar, I'm sore, but I get up again the next day and go do it again. A lot of young people do come and speak to me and do ask me about it. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. I don't party like I used to. I don't go out and spend a week at the beach and go sleep and have fun like I used to. I'm investing that in my business.
Yeah.
I'm not in Thailand for 2 weeks with my feet up drinking pina colada. I don't have time for that. I'm busy doing that.
Yes.
You have to work hard, and you have to work harder than the other guy that wants it. If he wants it more,
he gets it. Yeah, that's right.
If he works harder, and working harder doesn't mean doing longer hours.
Yes.
Working harder means he's decided to fill his head with knowledge. He's reading a book about that, or gone and done the masters, or studied people that he wants to be.
Yes.
So, and the other thing I'd say to people is, yes, you do have to make mistakes along the way, but if you can find somebody that's made those mistakes already and grab a few tips from them, it makes it all that much easier.
Yeah.
And my advice is always don't do it. Everyone's, my dream is to do what you're doing. I said, don't do it, because the hardship really kind of makes you, numbs you to feeling. So you got to make sure you still stay emotional and connected to society, but it would be much easier. Like my uncle's a politician, diplomat, not a politician, diplomat.
Yeah.
And this is a funny story. He used to be in South Africa as a deputy high commissioner down there. And he said to me, never join the public sector because you look rich, but you don't own anything. So he had his own driver, he had his own house.
That's right.
He had everything. He's in the suit. But as soon as he loses his job, his title is gone, his car is gone. And he said, and the problem is that when you're like that, you hang out with rich people. So he used to hang out with a guy in South Africa, and they used to have luxury vehicles. I think he was in the mining industry, and they used to drive across the border to other countries.
Yes.
And he had a garage full of these exotic cars, and my uncle got to choose one and drive it. So he's living that lifestyle, but at the end of the day, he'd never get it. And he said it's very hard to grow that unless you're a corrupt politician and manage to steal some money. But the private sector, there's no cap. You can go as far as you want.
As you want, that's right.
But at the same time, there's no safety net. Tomorrow, if something happens in the New Zealand wine industry, a disease wipes out that all the grapes in the region that my wine comes from, I can't do anything about it. There's always factors that I can't do anything about. Whereas my uncle will continue to be a diplomat no matter what happens, right? So my advice to people starting out is don't do it. Life is much more comfortable you know, doing something else. There's easy ways to make money.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, go and do it, and go and fail, and do it younger if you can.
If you can.
If you can do it younger, you know, an entrepreneur's most valued tool is time. There's all these quotations that you see online. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 60. You don't want to be starting a business at 60. Yeah, cool. That's cool. Nice job, Colonel Sanders. I enjoy your KFC. But no, start your KFC at 20 if you can.
If you can.
At the same time, if you want to start a business later, do it. But yeah, it's much easier if you start younger.
You know, Korea is a very competitive society and has a lot of people that are ready to outwork the next guy there. So building your brand in this society that it's very competitive.
Very competitive. So you have to find what makes you unique and different from the other person.
That's mean finding a niche.
It's a niche as well. I mean, I explain it to people like this. I said, if you go into a food court in the UK or in the US or New Zealand, and there are two sushi restaurants, and one has a white guy making sushi, and one has a Japanese guy making sushi.
Yes.
In your heart and in your mind, you believe that Japanese guy makes better sushi. But that Japanese guy could be a New Zealander who's never been to Japan in his life, whereas a non-Japanese guy could have done 20 years of training in Japan. But the perception is it must taste better.
Yes.
I only sell New Zealand wine. I don't sell French wine. I don't sell American wine. I don't sell Argentinian wine because I'm a New Zealander.
Yeah.
And I'm selling my country. I'm selling the brand of my country.
Yeah.
I'm selling wine from my country.
Yeah.
And I've been to all the areas that grow wine in New Zealand. I have pictures of me in the vineyards. I talk to all the people that produce wine. So I've specialized in that niche, and I am that niche. I am the wine guy from New Zealand, right? Yeah. Which is the comparison to the sushi guy, right? So when I go in and the Koreans are like, oh, why should I buy your wine? I said, well, I'm from New Zealand. I've got the story about my wine. I produce it like this. I can tell you exactly how it's done. Whereas my competitor, who's probably a sales manager for a large company with a portfolio of wines this thick, yes, he has financial backing. Yes, he has the distribution network, but he doesn't have what I have, which is the story of the brand behind it.
The story behind the brand, yes.
So I have to leverage that to my advantage. I have to really try and do that.